Okay, I'll admit it. I'm an old man. Because of my age, I've been witness to a lot of history. One of my earliest memories was of the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Both of my immigrant war-weary parents had lived through the horrors of World War II and were convinced that another war was imminent. It's more horrible now since both sides have nukes. In my childish naivety, my first thought was to save my pet Budgie. A small child has no conception of what the mind-numbing horror of nuclear annihilation is. Somehow, that 5-year-old boy survived into old age. Our generation seemingly had a sword of Damocles hanging over our heads. After the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, most of the planet heaved a sigh of relief. Many of the more perceptive among us realized that there were other threats on the horizon, equally as terrifying and devastating as a nuclear war. We heard what the scientists were saying about the effects the CO2 levels were having on our climate. Still, the hyper-capitalist machine kept running at a breakneck pace. It kept spitting out shiny trinkets, both large and small, bigger vehicles, and a trillion other things, all made of plastics. But that wasn't enough. We had to protect the crap that we were making. We needed weapons, and lots of them. We had to ensure our right to oil in order to drive bigger cars and produce more plastic. If a few million peasants had to be killed, well, it was a small price to pay for our freedom. On and on the machine ran at full speed. The more the earth screamed her warning, the more quickly the machine would run. The more quickly it ran, the more demand for newer and shinier things grew. The broken detritus of yesterday's pride and joy lay strewn across the landscape or incinerated into a toxic soup that was then spewed across the sky. The scientists and the knowledgeable people kept insisting that the machine be at least slowed down in order to do some research and perhaps apply some scientific wisdom to the equation. But the scientists and knowledgeable people were powerless to stop them, since the owners of the machine had bought and now owned the governments and courts of most nations. As an extra insurance against the meddling intelligentsia, they had bought up all of the media, and all channels of communications were now owned by them. There was no longer any way to slow down the machine. Due to AI, it had become sentient and was now the embodiment of all that is evil. Of course, forests were burning at a fearsome rate, and wherever on earth there was no fire, there were floods. There were wars with millions of souls dropping like flies after a first frost. The machine had turned on its host and was demonically intent on extracting any remaining life force from the earth. It now spat out hydrogen bombs at random intervals, creating a nuclear winter where nothing could possibly grow. The last remaining few years of life on Earth are too horrific and painful for me to recount. Suffice to say that there has never anywhere in the known universe where any form of life has been subjected to such horrific suffering and utter misery. The machine continued to run long after all life on Earth had been extinguished, continuing to produce new and shinier products. There were televisions and smartphones along with the latest fashions and accessories. There were vehicles, lots of them, cars, trucks, airplanes, and ships that floated aimlessly across poisoned oceans filled with rotting carcasses of sea creatures and plastics. Lots of plastics. Eventually it had to happen. The machine had run out of resources that it could exploit. Its artificially intelligent brain instructed it to begin consuming itself a little at a time. At first, it was able to keep producing shiny new products, but over the next few years, the selection of products it made diminished as it continued cannibalizing itself for more resources. Oh, it was still spitting out products, but it was no longer able to produce really profitable stuff like fighter jets and bombs. It dutifully kept following the instructions that had been programmed into it by the now deceased owners. Even though every square inch of the planet was covered by products of all kinds, it kept producing more and more. Somewhere around the year 2037, it squeezed out its last product, a set of plastic knives and forks, embossed with the logo of a long-gone fast food chain and the phrase, "You deserve a break today." Well, I hope you enjoyed that little fable. Sure, it's implausible, but at the same time, it's entirely too plausible. So remember, enjoy life while you can, while the world is still beautiful, before the machine eats everything. You think I'm joking? I'm serious. Peace, love, understanding, and all that stuff. And take care, everybody. If you could possibly share this and help the channel grow, I'm not asking for money. I'm not going to get ads on here or anything. I just want to be famous, damn it, for once in my life. Good night, everybody. Don't let the machine get you.